I'm Cynthia James, and this network is about changing lives one woman at a time. I am your host, Cynthia James, and I am very excited that I get to come to you every week, introducing you to women that inspire me, that are visionaries, that are change makers. And because I get to do that, I know that it gets to gift you as a reminder of who you come here to be. So you can find us on a lot of places and to subscribe: iHeart, iTunes, Spreaker, Amazon, YouTube. Just go anywhere you get a podcast, sign up for Women Awakening, and come and play with us. My guest today is someone that I really think is art in motion. Her name is Erica Sarzin Barrillo. She's a gifted Renaissance woman and has made a life in the integrative arts as a performer, a visual artist, and a healer. She's a visionary writer. And several years ago, she wrote this wonderful mystical poetry book called The House of Gathering. I used it in a talk because it was so inspiring for me. And then she wrote The Oracle of the Divine Feminine. Her newest publication is Chasing Radiance, Memoirs and Musing. Oh my gosh, I read it and it just inspired me. So Amazon, Balboa Press, Barnes and Noble is where you can get her stuff. So here's the thing. Her healing arts practice is called Mythic Healing Arts, and she uses a variety of tools for these changing times with a mission to midwife the birth of new vision and to restore the balance of the mind, the body, and the soul. Erica, welcome. I am so excited you're here.
My goodness, it's so wonderful to be here. My gosh, I thank you so much for inviting me. I thank you so much for opening my books and reading them, and your acknowledgement was very meaningful to me. Obviously, I am wildly artful and probably plugged into the creative unconscious from the very beginning of my little life. And it saved my life, actually. I know that you like to ask people how it all started for them. I will tell you that once I held the thread of my life, I didn't let go. And though there was trouble brewing pretty early on, I think my magical child was the one who kept me living in awe and wonder and spirituality. Mm-hmm. Because the interesting thing, Cynthia, and I know you know this, is that the creative unconscious and creativity itself is really the communication of spirituality.
Yes.
So for me, that part of my life from almost the beginning hooked me into the mystery.
Yes. Well, you know what I love about what you're saying is that I think we all have magical children within us, and many of us are not encouraged to show them or don't have the courage to step forward and bring them forward. But the interesting thing for me is that you knew you were magic. You tapped into it from the very beginning beyond circumstances.
Yes. Yes. And actually maybe beyond, but possibly in certain ways because of. So this is how I tend to think that our fate, and fate is something that we think of as a deterrence from our destiny. I think fate fuels us. Mm. So, I would love to read something to you, if you wouldn't mind. This is real synchronicity, because just this morning I was cleaning out from underneath the couch, and look what I found. I found my first book, The House of Gathering.
Yes, and that stayed by my bed for many.
Oh my! I know. I'm so flattered. It moves me so much. This I opened up the book and I opened to this page. And I call myself the synchronicity queen because this happens all the time. This particular piece kind of tells the tale of my childhood without going into every single thing that happened. But I'm happy to tell you some of it. But this speaks of how my childhood somehow wound up connecting to my elderhood, if you will.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you. It's called The Masterpiece. The heart of humanity, broken and fractured, becomes humbled, yet so full of longing that it grows in yearning for your embrace. Perhaps it is the quake that carves the way to your light. We enter the world. We travel everywhere to find the center, to uncover the many secrets of life and the mysteries of the universe. I was born into the arts and came from a long line of painters, writers, opera singers, and even vaudevillians. I spent hours as a child listening to classical music, imagining great ballets. I created grand puppet theater and performed for my invisible audiences. I would sit for hours looking up at the sky, pondering the essence of God and infinity. Already with a mythic sense, I sang, I wrote, I painted, I performed. Did it serve as an escape from my childhood tragedy? They say the soul's code is set long before birth. In my case, crisis pushed me deeper into my soul, and I was lucky enough to find the meaning of my life through the arts. My bliss remained constant through the years while my mission seemed to grow and asked of me to contemplate filling a much greater role. So much of our seeking leads us to a higher purpose. But perhaps my hours spent imagining great ballets to symphonies were the baby steps that brought me just a little closer to my part of this magnificent masterpiece.
Oh, that is so beautiful.
Thank you.
Love that. It's first of all, what is powerful for me is that you can articulate in that way writing. And were you always a writer?
I love that you're asking me that question. I remember starting to write journals when I was about 12 years old. This was after my mother had died. And I was obviously needing to connect with my soul, inner dialoguing. I did write, I remember back then writing big, mythic, abstract thoughts, but this was me. I mean, I came in yearning to know God. And certainly my mother's death, as you can imagine, which I still mourn, to tell you the truth. Very, very interesting. The peculiar upside of dealing with death that early is that you begin to grapple with the bigger paradox of eternity and finality all at once. So I was writing back then, but I certainly never thought that I would become a writer or an author. What happens to me now, to tell you the truth, is that when I put pen to paper, I follow the muse.
Yes, yes.
I don't struggle. I can't be caught in the external mindset. I really just follow the pen.
Now, well, you know what? That's really great because I got to tell you, it took me a long time to surrender to that process. Because when I started writing, there were so many doubts in my mind about what did I have to say, who was going to listen, all that kind of stuff. And But what I started noticing is what you just described, is that when I just let go, things would come in that weren't me. They were there were downloads coming through me, you know. And so the fact that you knew that at 12 is an extraordinary thing, that you could open to that, because you knew that you had a muse.
Well, Cynthia, I come from a long line of eccentrics. What can I say? Yeah, I mean, this word downloading is interesting. I think we do, but I also think that my favorite phrase is by Walt Whitman. I am multitudes. So I kind of wonder. I wonder who is speaking at any given time. So when I think of my muse, I don't personally think of it being from outside, although we are the universe and the universe is in us, obviously. But you know, when you say you were in the mind of self-critiquing when you were writing, I have to tell you, when I'm writing or when I'm engaged in any kind of artistic venture, I feel like I've just had some medicine, that I'm in a state of coalescence, and I wish I could bring that into the social world, but it's not so easy. So it was nearing the end of this last book that literally I was afraid to let go of the writing process, because I knew I would have to birth it. And I knew then that I'd be hearing the cultural voices of judgment. And, you know, that's what gets us every time. That's what distracts us.
Yes.
So
You're willing to be vulnerable. Your willingness to be vulnerable and authentic, I think, is a message. It's a message for other women. It's a message for humanity, you know, because I think until we can step into that field where we can be authentic and vulnerable, we cannot understand each other. We cannot know each other. We can't love each other. So bravo to you for being willing to tell your story.
well, thank you, because that's exactly how I feel. But I have to keep doing the self-talk in a way, to pat myself on the back and go, you know, you did this for a reason. I should tell you a little bit about the other voice of the wounded child, and see what you think about this. It's a slightly different notion, I suppose. I still hold on to that part of me that was abandoned, because I think our abandoned children, or our wounded children in some sense, are the ones who are the criers for the world. They are the ones who hold the spiritual issues that perhaps took place in their childhood, but that still exist in the world.
Yes.
So my abandoned child was longing for connection.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I know you know what this means.
Well, I do.
And I stand up for it now. That's what it's all about.
I'm so glad you're bringing it forward, because you know what? I would not be who I am today without everything that has happened to me. And I think it's the same for everyone. It's like you don't disown some part of yourself. You embrace it, you love it, you honor it. And and sometimes, you know, I allow those parts of me to speak, to sing, to dance, whatever. And I know you do the same thing. Bring it into your artistry.
That's right. That's right. Well, certainly, there was enough drama in my life that I became a dramatic actress. But yes, you too.
Totally. I want to ask you.
Yes,
You are married to a brilliant artist,
I am.
and I want to know how you have managed through the years to maintain your strength and your power as an artist, and not give yourself away and compliment, because of watching the two of you do your artistry has been quite wonderful for me.
Oh my God.
So how has that been for you? How have you navigated it?
Oh my gosh, what a question for me. Well, I mean, the biggest thing that Paul and I have in common is that we're creative. We're wildly uh, uh, with a huge creative libido. Both of us. Uh, for a while we did many more things together. We had the entertainment business. We had a circus. Um, as the years have gone by, well, I'll be honest with you, mainly because I have some illness issues. I'm not out there in the world quite as much as I was, and he pretty much has taken that business, whereas I have Mythic Healing Arts. I see people and have leaned more heavily into healing and writing, and sometimes salon style gatherings. But he's really taken a lot of it. Now, at the same time that you think we collaborate very easily, oh my goodness. I have this theory about soulmates. Soulmates don't always harmonize with each other.
Well, amen. Amen. It's not like they ride in on the horse, pick you up, and you go off into the sunset.
Right.
They challenge you.
Yes.
You
Yes.
challenge one another. Absolutely.
And we do. We do. And then we always wind up coming back together. We've been together for 34 years, which is wild. But probably, quite honestly, the best, biggest creation between the two of us was our son. Yeah. Yeah.
It's quite beautiful to witness. I'm so glad that you said that about soulmates. I've been with my husband for 26 years, and there's good news and interesting news. There's the bliss and the wonder and the creativity,
Yes.
and then there's the fire, and there's all that stuff in between. And I think that's what deepens relationship. I really think that's what allows people to stay together for these long periods of time.
Yes.
Because they're willing to walk through the fire together, whatever that means, and create children,
Yes.
and create art,
Yes.
and move into places of acceptance of one another.
Indeed. And somehow we wind up, hopefully, most marriages are like this, we wind up growing each other.
Yes.
And we wind up not always because we open up to what they're saying and go, yes, you've taught me something, but maybe because we're fighting so hard. There's a voice within going, no, I stand in my power and I believe in this, and that grows us too.
Absolutely.
Marriage is fascinating.
Well, it is. When I marry people, I say this is the greatest workshop of your life.
I love it. I love it.
Because what we see in the movies and, all of that stuff, and read in romance novels and all that stuff, that's not the deal.
That's right.
The deal is, it's like, can you learn yourself, honor yourself? Can you honor the other person as you walk that path?
Yes.
It's so beautiful. Yes. And I love that you are doing your Mythic Healing Arts, because this is one of the things I would love to just talk a little bit about, is that we evolve. We don't stay the same. I'm not the same as I was 10 years, 20 years, 30 years ago. And so whatever has happened in your life opened another space for the evolution of Mythic Healing Arts to come through. How do you feel about that?
Well, I really think that it's one of the same. It took me a long time to say to myself, again, to say within myself from my own voice versus the cultural voice, which judges, which once upon a time made me feel like I'm doing too many things. Who am I really to choose all of this? Are you an artist or are you a healing artist? And then I realized the arts and humanities and the healing arts are all from the same place of spirituality.
Yes.
When I became an artist, I also became a philosopher, and someone who feels very deeply about the world. And so it was part of my mission to enter into that. When I was in New York, I just had such an appetite to study as much as I could. So I do have many, many tools. And then right around age 60, I had yet another major awakening. Many of us were right around that time, interestingly enough. This was about 10 years ago. So many women were having awakenings.
Yes.
Isn't that interesting? In any event, so that's when I start, and I was downloading information about the divine feminine, and that's when I created my little card deck called Oracle of the Divine Feminine. Next step was to start meeting folks like Jean Houston.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, I couldn't get enough of her. I love her madly to this day. And then I went out on my own and went further with my own ways of teaching and holding people. So.
Well, I think it's great. I mean, I'm working on a new book right this moment, and it's really kind of charting my life's path. And some people, when I talk about my life, they go, "How'd you get all that stuff packed into one life?" And I think that's why we're here. I think we're here to like explore and have an adventure, and so I'm so excited to be connected to another adventurer like you, because I think that we're here on the planet to be way showers, to say you can do this. You don't have to fit in a box or in a container.
Right.
You get to burst out of it.
That's right. That's right. Yes.
So how do people find you?
Oh, okay. So there are several different, since there's several different things that I do, there's several different websites. The Healing Arts, Mythic Healing Arts is www.mythichealingarts.com.
Okay.
My new book, and just yesterday, finally, the website became live. That is www.chasingradiance.com.
Chasingradiance.com. Love it. Love
And
it.
my two books are on Amazon and thereabouts. Perhaps I should also say my email address. People can contact me directly, and that is ericact at msn.com. That's ERICACT at msn.com. And please contact me. Yeah,
and ladies, really go explore her, because what an amazing life she is living. So I ask one last question, the same question of every guest. What is the one thing you want women to know about the importance of their awakening?
Well, I do think that we are the ones who are wired from the get-go to midwife this new paradigm called the divine feminine. And I just think that we need to stick to it, despite or because of the times that we're living in. This paradigm is really about living in process. And it's about being honest and true, and being in something that I like to call spiritual power, which is it's more or less a yin kind of power, but we must be present in that power. And we are the ones to teach presence. We are the ones to teach connection. The most important thing, I think, for all of us is to not, we have to keep our eye on the sparrow, so to speak, because the world is very distracting, to say the least. We could fall into the depression of the descent. But as long as we are, just going to put it poetically, chasing radiance, we'll be good.
Oh, that is so beautiful. Erica, thank you so much for being here. I'm so honored to connect with you, see your artistry, and have you meet my tribe, because you're such an example of someone who just lives outside of the box and flourishes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You're beautiful, Cynthia James. Thank you so much. Okay.
So ladies, I thank you so much for being here. Like I said, we do this every week. And I want to remind you, to piggyback on what Erica said, we're the ones everybody's been waiting for. We bring the light, we bring the love, we bring the nurturing, we bring the gifts. Make no mistake about it, you're essential. So I'm grateful that you're here. I'm grateful that you're a part of my tribe. I'm grateful that I get to share these amazing women with you. Please know there is nothing in the way. You are here to do great things, and the universe will take care of you. I'll see you next time.